Welcome to All Hail the Fail, the podcast that celebrates messing up spectacularly, embarrassing yourself repeatedly, and failing forward. I'm your host, Winfrey, executive, consultant, coach, author, and proud of every failure and rejection it took to get me there. Today's guest is Hannah Moyo. Hannah is a consultant and holds a wealth of experience in working with large, complex organizations, helping them navigate through times of uncertainty, so probably very relevant at the moment, and accelerate their business transformation and performance. She's particularly passionate about mentoring and finding opportunities to support others into the working world. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Bentley. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. Okay. First question, if your best friend was describing you at a conference, what would they say?
Such a good question, firstly. I'm sure that everyone probably says that, but it really, it gets you thinking because you're about connecting your friends with a conference as well that you might attend. But I think for me, thinking about this one, it would be calm. I think I'm calm. I like to think I'm calm under pressure. And I know that you mentioned that uncertainty that we're facing in the external environment. I think there's even more of a need to really have that calmness. Yet bold, I think. And I was thinking, right, what are the three things that I can think about for this in answer to this question? Because as a consultant, we love
Always three
things in three.
Always three.
I might do it in four, but yeah, I think calm, bold, someone who likes to have fun. I think for me, fun is so important, and humor at work. And if we don't have that, I think it really does impact the culture and why we do what we do every day with the people that we do that with. So for me, yeah, definitely fun. And then I think the last one, and I am not going for 3 points here, I'm going for the fourth.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely to be a person that can be there to kind of talk through anything. I'd like to think whether you are my best friend or my friend, my teammate, any person, any colleague, I'd like to think that they could talk through anything with me in terms of that, having that open and transparent relationship. So I think for me, those are the kind of four areas.
It's so interesting that you mentioned fun to me because, you're a head of consulting. So you are some people's boss in the consulting world. And most people would not associate professional services work environments with fun.
That's so true. But I think if we are doing something wrong, if we don't laugh every day. I mean, I've been on multiple calls today with clients and with my team, and we've laughed on every single one of them, actually. I think thinking back, I've been on about 6 calls so far. We've laughed every single one of them in a, it might be just a small thing about what you did last night, or it might be something about the way that you've worked together. But I think if you don't have that fun, it really does. I know there's a recent HBR article on it that said, we have to have fun at work. It's such an important aspect and a massive part of our lives that we have to have it.
Yeah, and honestly, a testament, I guess, to the possibility for some people who are thinking choosing a professional services career, becoming a consultant means you have to be serious, corporate robot, consulting robot. But hearing someone who has managed to rise to, the top of the organization and still laughs in every call is quite inspiring.
Okay, we do. We smile a lot, we laugh a lot. And I think also because we tell stories at the Storytellers, we are telling stories that have impact and often involve having a lot of fun along the way. So I think there is a stigma with consulting, but absolutely for me, if I'm not having fun, I question what I'm doing.
Okay, speaking of stories, tell me a story about what you were most proud of achieving in your professional life.
Yes. So I think for me, reflecting and looking at my career over the last 12 to 13 years, both in the consulting industry, but also working in the IT industry. So working for Hewlett, Packard and Capgemini, and now the Storytellers. Yeah. I think for me, it was at Hewlett Packard when I stepped into, for the first time, I experienced being a leader. And I remember one of my my managers previously said, this is a step up, and you'll be managing people that are older than you, that are that have been in the business for 20 to 30 years. You've got a challenge, but I can see you have a way for managing people, and I really wanted to do it. And I think for me, it was then the rewarding aspect of being a leader, being a line manager, seeing those people grow. I remember one of the guys that worked in my team said, you've opened up a whole new aspect. I'm about to retire, but actually my last year has been amazing because I've learned more than I did in the past 5 years. So for me, being a leader is about unleashing the potential of your team and your people. And I think it's about me elevating and celebrating them. And I do the same with my team, I like to think, at the Storytellers. And so I think for me, that's what I'm most proud of is stepping into a leadership role, having an impact at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and continuing to love being a line manager and a leader as I do the same at the Storytellers.
You've just reminded me of how bad I was as a line manager to start with. Like, I wasn't good at it to begin with, right? Because there is such a fine balance between giving people honest feedback and honestly being terrible, like breaking their spirit. And because so many people had been giving me such harsh feedback, I was really afraid of doing that. And as a result, I was like wishy-washy and sort of like, yes, whenever you feel like getting something done, it's totally fine. So how did you manage to get being a manager right straight out the gate?
Well, I don't think it was straight away. I think it took me 6 months at least to get my feet under the table. And you're striking a fine balance, aren't you? You're celebrating progress, but you're also looking at the areas of focus and development that need to be addressed for that person to really grow in the role. And I think it's only until once you've built that belief in what you're doing as a leader, and you've got that commitment and the trust built with that person, then you can start to really push the dial in terms of pushing their personal development, having those open and transparent conversations. So I think for me, it takes a few months. Trust is so important. So then you can really push people to the next level.
Okay, that's good. It makes me feel better. It wasn't instant success. So I was like, no, I think, to be fair, I think it did take me, somewhere between like 4, 5, 6 months to really get the hang of it. And that's the first level, right? Like level 1 of management, never mind everything after that.
Exactly. And you grow as a leader, and there's no kind of rule book for it. And I think that's the beautiful thing about leadership, is that you can be human, you can be your authentic self, and you can put your own stamp on it. So there's only so far that kind of the guidebook will take you.
Tell me about a time you failed spectacularly.
Love this question. I think for me, it was looking back to my first pitch that I ever did for new business. And I was going along to a retail client it was a good few years ago now, but I was going to be, with a team put in front of the CEO, the HRD, the head of marketing, the corporate affairs director as well. There was a lot of, and the CFO, and you always want to get the CFO on side.
Yeah, important.
Yeah. So, and the transformation director. So it was a group of about 8 people who were very much, they're scary people to me, especially at that stage of my career. So I went very formal. I had watched a few episodes of The Apprentice. And
oh my God, this is so good. Okay, you're right. You watched The Apprentice. Great. Good learning. Excellent L&D. Carry on.
Exactly. Essential. At the time, it was massive as well. Everyone was talking about The Apprentice, and I thought that's how you do a pitch. You go in, you're formal, you have your heels on, your suit on, you go in, and you don't give 1 ounce of yourself away because you're not quite human in that situation. You are pitching to a group of people an idea, and the more formal, the more consultant that I could be, the better. So I thought, right, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Went in, and I remember I was in the most pain because I'd worn the highest heels, and my feet were actually bleeding on my ankles. So it wasn't good. I mean, I did the pitch and I was in so much pain. And I thought, you know what, because I'm a woman and because it's the workplace, I have to wear these really high heels. I was convinced that it was critical for the pitch for me to be really formal, to deliver a little bit like a robot, I must say, looking back.
Yeah.
And I was worried that I would be seen as less important if I didn't have my hair completely straight, if I didn't have high heels on, and if I didn't conform to a very corporate kind of way of working. And so did the rest of the team. But I think this is where then, because we were quite blindsided they were a bit more casual, informal, they were retail, had a very cool office. I rocked up and we lost the pitch, and we had the feedback that we just wouldn't fit in with the team. We actually had feedback that we were robotic, and that's not what you want to hear, but it's the best bit of feedback because, I from that day on and from every client interaction since, I think it's just so important to be human, be yourself. The client isn't necessarily buying the product, they're buying the team. They want people that are really going to fit in and feel like their team. And I think it's funny now looking back, because it's probably one of the turning points of my career. It taught me a lot, and I'm so glad it happened. I'm so glad I had those blisters on my feet and the scars to remember it. But it was a failure that I've seen has really shaped the rest of my career, because we pitch all the time now, and I love it. I love the human way that we do it. We tell stories. We get people to get the client to see us as people rather than as robots. So for me, that was the most spectacular failure that I've seen as an opportunity.
Honestly, that was a beautiful failure. I just, the fact that your feet were bleeding, like you were literally bleeding out.
Oh, yeah.
In front of everybody, and this, in your brain, you're going, I'm doing such a great job, right?
I was like, this is everyone goes through this pain, right? I've still got scars today on my ankles. I mean, it's not good. It's not good.
What did you actually do differently next time, besides absolutely not wearing heels, I hope?
Not wearing heels, or wearing boots or smaller ones. I do have a bit of a heel sometimes. But, I do feel that we are, and times have shifted as well. So you don't have to be as formal and corporate. But I think for me, it was, don't be afraid to show your authentic self. And don't be afraid to be a bit vulnerable to the client. Don't practice. I know there's practice, which I always do. But I think if you practice to the point where it's a script, you won't get that belief building and the confidence and commitment, because it comes across as very robotic. Do you find the same?
Absolutely. And every time someone asks me, like before I do anything, like, oh, hey, can we do like a practice run through? I'm always like, no, you'll kill my spontaneity, right? Because then the next time I do it, if I did the first one really well, I'll be thinking, oh, what did I say the first one? That was really good. Like, let me try and repeat that. Exactly. And that kind of like hesitation in your brain creates the like ums and the uhs and the, random pauses, and kind of feeling a bit of a deer in the headlights. So for me, I'm always like, no, just let me do it. Like, give me the brief and I'll go and I'll say whatever, and I won't remember what I said afterwards, but it will probably be good in the moment. Yeah. I can always hear when someone's over-rehearsed.
That's
and when someone's reading something, and when like it never, even if they sound like TV good or radio good, it still doesn't, like, there's always this ringing of inauthenticity to me.
I agree completely.
That I just sort of go like, this isn't actually you, even if you are articulate and whatever, like this is not actually you. And that, I think, is the thing that I struggle with, is that I can no longer show up as a different person.
That's it.
Presentations and meetings.
That's it. And actually the client will see straight through it. I think anyone will see straight through it. And yes, I'm all about the practice, but I think there's to a point without it being too scripted, because it doesn't come across as believable. That's the thing. So since then, yes, I always encourage my team and I to practice, but not to the point where we have a script that we are reading from. And this is what we advise C-suite leaders to do the same, and senior leaders across different organizations. That it's a really important aspect of storytelling is for people to really understand and believe what you're saying is a critical part of being a leader, and getting them on side. Building trust has to come from the heart in a way, without sounding far too cheesy.
I think you have to trust that what you're saying is true. Because even, if I've been in a situation where someone was telling me to say something and I believed it was the right thing for the organization, but I knew it was not going to be good for those people. So I'm trying to take them on the journey, but I know I've always struggled in those situations because I don't trust what I'm saying is true. Like, I want it to be true. I believe in the reason we're doing this. There's a bigger picture, but it's really hard with that divide, I guess.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's, it was a bit of a turning point for me. It was a bit of an aha moment,
Yeah, it sort of reminds me, actually, it's weird because I keep on thinking about the uniform that women especially put on in corporate spaces. And I remember when I worked in investment banking, I did have like a uniform. It was like a white collared shirt, cufflinks, high-waisted black trousers, like boots. Every day, it was just a variation of that. So I had like 5 shirts, 5 trousers, whatever, and would just kind of recycle them. And then someone pointed out that I looked exactly like my boss every day. And then I realized that like my whole team was men and we all were wearing like white shirts. Like one would wear white with the little brown pinstripes, and the next day someone would wear with the little white pinstripes. But like it was the same, we would dress the same basically. And I wondered if it was because not seeing enough women in certain environments kind of makes me, and that sometimes men, I guess, in corporate settings are colorful and whatever, but there's so much more range in terms of what people who identify as women wear, like dresses and colors. And now my whole wardrobe is like a rainbow, right? And I don't care, I'll wear whatever. But certainly I did not believe that for a large portion of my career. And other women also told me not to do that.
Really? That's so interesting. That's what women told you not to dress.
Not to be flamboyant in my dress. Like don't attract too much attention, because then you stand out even more. Because you're already going to stand out. Like, you're a woman, you're a woman of a certain shade of brown in the room as well. Like don't overemphasize your otherness for a room that's probably going to be older men who already can't relate to you. If you want to be able to influence them, you have to meet them where they are.
That is
not like bright pink, fluffy silk shirt business, in their minds at least. And other women told me that. It's the whole thing of other women who also like telling women to not wear skirts in the office.
Yeah, which I've had before as well, which has been, I mean, it's like people are pushing each other, or women are pushing other women down, rather than, shouldn't we celebrate each other and be our full selves? And, I think your personality shines through what you wear, and it's a way for us to shine.
I have a different interpretation of that behavior, though.
Ooh.
Because I think that those women were reflecting on what they thought had made them successful. And they thought what had made them successful was blending in with the men. And wearing a below your knee skirt or whatever it might be. Like, that was what they thought had made them successful. So they were thinking, I want you to be successful. Don't make the same mistakes I made by starting off all fun and wild. Like, fit into this mold earlier so that you can be successful.
Right. Do you think that's because, and maybe they did have to do that to be successful at that time, but now I'd like to think times are changing. I hope times are changing. We can wear pajamas. I could be wearing pajamas right now.
You can wear pajamas come on, you're not going to wear pajamas to a client meeting. Don't lie. This is a podcast of honesty. Don't lie.
No, I mean at home. I mean, you know, you can wear, not that I do that, but you can wear your pajamas on a Friday or a Monday.
I guess if they were like really snazzy pajamas, but like, I don't know, I'd have my mother's voice in my head the entire time, just being like, why are you embarrassing our family like this? So it would not, I don't think it would work out. But I think it doesn't apply, I think, to clothing and dress in the same way. But I do think when I think about wellness, there is something kind of about that, because as much as I want to tell young consultants, having gone back into consulting now myself, value your lifestyle, value wellness, you know, don't work too late, da da da. More than one of them has pointed out, but you did the exact opposite of that and were successful.
Yeah.
Your path to success was not closing your laptop at 4:30 and not responding to emails after 6, right? Like and I keep on saying, like, yes, but that was bad. Like, don't do that. But it did result in the career I have today. And so for me, I wonder if I am just living the same thing as those other women sort of saying, like, wear a longer skirt. I'm saying work a couple of extra hours.
Oh, that is so interesting, you know. But so you would work your butt off until late, maybe till
all the time. Honestly, I used to work until 11 p.m., go to sleep until 1, wake up and work until 4, and then go to sleep until 7.
I thought I had it bad in consulting, but that's
yeah, I worked like that solidly there was 1 year which was really bad, and I worked solidly for a year like that, 6 days a week. So it was mad. And there was one 6-month period where I worked every day, and I remember having 2 days off in 6 months.
That is madness. Blows my mind.
That's not like the kind of lifestyle that I want others to aspire to. No. But if I think about the kind of reviews I got and what people said about me after those really crunchy, awful times, people thought I was amazing. I was a rock star.
Weren't you more likely
doing that? Yeah.
Make mistakes. Weren't you more likely to make mistakes? You're so tired. Bit of coffee.
I guess that's why you have the team, right? Yeah. That's the whole point of working in a team, is other people kind of have to have your back as well and be able to check your work and stuff. Yeah. But yes, I did make mistakes, like 1000%. I was exhausted all the time.
Yeah, just keep going. I mean, it's something that I do look at the work that we do at the Storytellers. We really champion work-life balance. And we don't work into, I mean, if we have an event, you know, we're working hard up till that milestone event, but we really are, right, shut your laptop at 5:30 and have a life is so important. And I'd like to think that we are successful, but I remember I never used to shut my laptop at 5:30, but now I champion it. It's so interesting, isn't it?
You're going to have so many people sliding into your LinkedIn DMs being like, hey, you got any, you're looking for any consulting team members right now? I'm just warning, you've set yourself up for this. We talked about what you learned from your Apprentice X first consulting pitch.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there something about yourself that you don't tend to tell people you learned, but that you actually, an unpleasant thing you realized about yourself from that experience?
I think I realized, this maybe sounds quite, again, quite cheesy. I'm bringing all the cheese, but, you know, it's okay to be me. Again, walking into boardrooms, I remember actually it was mostly older white males, and it's intimidating. And you think they're not going to like me. Again, I need to fit in as much as I possibly can. Also, I have 10 seconds to really put my point across and get them to see that I'm adding value before they will just probably not give me eye contact potentially at all. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned is it's okay to be you. And I think as long as you can show your value and you can shine and be yourself in pitches, in every conversation that you have with a client, with your team, because if you show who you are and you are really human, you can do great things. And I think I've achieved I'd like to think I've achieved my best work just from being myself in the last few years, and just, helping myself and my team to shine through, really.
I think there is nothing cheesy about realizing that you are enough, and being able to tell yourself, I am enough. Like that's actually pretty empowering. So on that note, thank you very much. It was absolutely wonderful to talk to you. Very like
you, Bentley.
Thinking big questions now. Gotta go and like meditate on that.
I feel like I need to meditate or a Zen before I go into my next meeting. But thank you so much. I love that.